Someone was photographing me through my window while I slept. And I had no idea for weeks. Okay, so let me take you back. This was maybe 3 years ago. I was renting this small house on the edge of town, gravel road, pine trees basically surrounding the whole property on 3 sides. Honestly, I loved it at first. Super quiet, cheap rent, no neighbors breathing down my neck. Perfect for someone who just wanted to be left alone. First few months? Nothing. Totally normal. I'd work from home, make dinner, watch something before bed. Boring in the best way possible. Then October hit and everything changed. So it's a Tuesday night, maybe midnight, I'm in bed scrolling my phone and something just catches my eye through the gap in my curtain. Like a shape, right at the edge of the tree line. And I don't know why, but something about it made me sit up. I stared at it for a good while and told myself it was just a shadow or maybe a deer standing there. Turned off my light and went to sleep. Next night though, it was there again. Same exact spot. I watched it this time for like 20 minutes waiting for it to just move or walk away or do literally anything. Nothing. It just stood there completely still, facing my window. I closed the curtain and tried to brush it off. Told myself I was stressed, overworking, seeing things. But night after night it kept coming back. By the 4th night I turned off all my lights so I wouldn't be visible and just watched from the side of the window for over an hour. The figure never moved once. Never shifted weight, never looked away, nothing. Just standing there in the dark like it was waiting for something. I called my brother the next morning. He basically laughed at me. Said I needed sleep and probably just needed to get out of that house more. I called the non-emergency police line anyway. An officer came, walked around the property, checked the woods, found absolutely nothing. I felt kind of stupid honestly. Then the 5th night came. This time I had my phone recording. Got almost 4 minutes of footage. And when I zoomed in and watched it back I genuinely felt sick. It wasn't a shadow. It was a man. Tall guy, dark clothes, arms just hanging at his sides, standing completely still and staring directly at my window. I called the police straight away. 2 officers showed up fast, went into the woods with flashlights. And here's the thing that really got me, they found 0 footprints. The ground was soft out there, it had rained 2 days before. There should have been something. But there was nothing at all. One of the officers watched my video footage and went quiet for a second. Then he told me I should stay somewhere else for a few nights while they looked into it. That response honestly scared me more than anything. I stayed at a friend's place for 3 days. Came back, everything seemed fine. Nothing missing, nothing moved. I almost felt relieved. That morning I decided to go check the spot myself in daylight. Just to make it feel less scary, I guess. I walked across the yard, stepped into the grass at the edge of the trees and stopped dead. There was a flattened circle in the grass. About the size of 2 feet pressed together. Like something heavy had been standing there for hours, night after night. My hands were already shaking when I noticed something tucked against the nearest tree. Held there with a small rock. A photograph. I picked it up and my stomach just dropped. It was me. Taken through my bedroom window. I was asleep, eyes closed, completely unaware. Whoever took it was close enough to see my face clearly through the glass. I was out of that house within 2 weeks. Police investigated but nothing ever came of it. No suspect, no arrest, nothing. I still don't know who he was or what he wanted. I've moved twice since then and most days I'm completely fine. But at night, when it's quiet, I still find myself glancing at the curtain before I fall asleep. On nights when I see nothing I feel okay. But some nights the curtain shifts just slightly and I lie there in the dark, completely still. Just like he used to. There was a door in my basement that did not exist the night before. I know how that sounds. Just keep reading. Okay, so I've lived in this house for 11 years. 11 years. I know this place better than I know anything else in my life. Every squeaky floorboard, every draft, every weird smell that comes up from the pipes in winter. So when I tell you I walked downstairs one morning and found a door in my basement wall that had never been there before, I'm not talking about something I maybe overlooked. I'm talking about a door that was not there. And then suddenly it was. Let me back up though, because this didn't just come out of nowhere. So the house I bought, I got it pretty young, like 29 years old, felt very proud of myself at the time. Older build, 2 stories, decent yard, unfinished basement. The basement was basically nothing. Concrete floors, exposed pipes, a water heater humming away in the corner, and one of those pull-string light bulbs hanging from the ceiling. I used it for storage and literally nothing else. Holiday decorations, old boxes, a broken treadmill I told myself every single year I was going to fix. You know how that goes. 11 years. Nothing weird. Nothing unusual. Just a boring basement full of junk. Then last February something shifted, and honestly I can't even fully explain it. It wasn't anything dramatic at first. Just this feeling, you know? Like when you come home and something feels slightly off even though you can't point to what it is. I'd come downstairs every morning to make coffee and just feel uneasy standing in my own kitchen. Couldn't shake it no matter what. My sleep went bad around the same time. Waking up at like 2 or 3 in the morning for absolutely no reason. Lying there in the dark feeling weirdly alert. Not scared exactly, just on edge. Like my body was picking up on something my brain hadn't figured out yet. Then I started hearing the knocking. Okay, so this is where it gets hard to explain without sounding completely unhinged. It wasn't loud. It wasn't like someone banging on a wall. It was faint, rhythmic, coming from below. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 knocks. Always in the middle of the night, always from the direction of the basement. First time I heard it, I literally grabbed my phone and ran downstairs. Pulled the light string, looked around everywhere. Nothing. Water heater doing its thing. Boxes exactly where I left them. I stood there for like 10 minutes feeling like an idiot, and then went back to bed. But it kept happening. Every few nights. Same pattern every single time. I started logging it on my phone because I genuinely thought I was losing my mind. Over 3 weeks it happened 9 times. Always between 2 and 4 in the morning. Always gone by the time I got down there. I called a plumber first. Figured it was pipes doing something weird. He checked everything, said my plumbing was actually in great shape. Then I called an exterminator thinking maybe something had gotten into the walls. He found no entry points, no droppings, nothing. Zero explanation. So I just kind of lived with it. What else was I supposed to do? Then March 4th happened and everything changed. I remember the date specifically because it was my sister's birthday, and I was planning to drive over to her place that afternoon. Woke up around 7, made my coffee, went downstairs to grab some old photo albums I wanted to bring her. I pulled the light string, looked up to make sure the bulb caught, and when I looked back down I just froze. The back wall looked different. I'm standing at the bottom of the stairs staring at the far left corner of the back wall, and there is a door there. A wooden door. Dark stained, old looking, with this small tarnished brass handle. Just sitting there in the concrete wall like it had always been there. I didn't move for probably 2 full minutes. I kept looking away and looking back like maybe I was still half asleep and my brain was playing tricks. But every time I looked back it was still there. I walked over slowly and reached out and touched it. Cold, solid wood. Real hinges, slightly rusted. Like this door had been in that wall for decades. But I had been in that basement 3 days earlier. 3 days. That wall was bare concrete blocks. I would have noticed a door. Anyone would have noticed a door. My hands were shaking when I tried the handle. Locked. I went back upstairs and sat at my kitchen table for a long time just thinking. Okay, I told myself, old houses have secrets. Maybe there was always a door there and it got covered up by a previous owner, and whatever was covering it just fell away somehow. That's a rational explanation, right? Except the walls in my basement were bare concrete throughout. No drywall, no paneling, nothing that could fall away. That door was set directly into the concrete like it was built into the actual foundation of the house. I called my neighbor Dave. Guy has lived on this street for like 30 years, so I figured if anyone knew anything about the history of my house it would be him. I told him what I found and he went quiet in a way that made my stomach drop. Then he told me that the guy who owned my house before it went to auction, an older man who lived alone, disappeared sometime in the mid-90s. Just vanished. Never found. House sat empty for almost 8 years before it eventually sold. 30 years we'd been neighbors and he never once mentioned this to me. I called a locksmith that same afternoon. He took one look at the lock and said it was old. Like pre-1950s old. Took him about 20 minutes to get it open and honestly he didn't look thrilled about it. Behind the door was a narrow concrete staircase going down. A sub-basement. Underneath my already underground basement. We both just stood there shining the flashlight down. At the bottom of the stairs was a small room, maybe 10 by 10 feet, concrete on every side. And in the middle of the room was a single wooden chair. Just sitting there facing the staircase. Facing up toward where I slept every night. The locksmith left pretty quickly after that and honestly I get it. I called the police. 2 officers came, went down with flashlights, spent about 15 minutes down there. Came back up and said the room was empty. Just the chair. No signs of recent activity, nothing criminal they could identify. They took some photos and filed a report. I asked about the chair and one of them just shrugged and said old houses have strange things in them. The other one didn't say anything. That night I sat in my living room and couldn't stop thinking about the knocking. 3 knocks, pause, 3 knocks. 9 times over 3 weeks something had been knocking from below my basement floor. And the whole time there was a room down there with a chair sitting in it facing up toward where I slept. I have not been back in that basement since. There's a heavy padlock on the basement door now and I check it every single night before bed. I'm selling the house. 11 years I loved that place, and now I can't spend a night there without lying awake listening. Real estate agent asked if there was anything she needed to disclose to buyers. I told her about the sub-basement. I didn't tell her about the knocking. And I didn't tell her that on my last night in that house I woke up at 3 in the morning in a cold sweat. And heard 3 knocks coming from directly beneath my bedroom floor. Okay, so I debated for a long time whether to even share this because it sounds absolutely insane. But I've been carrying this around for 23 years and honestly I just need to get it out. So here we go. I'm going to start when I was 8 years old. Growing up my bedroom was at the end of a hallway on the 2nd floor of my parents' house. Nice house, normal neighborhood, good area. Nothing about where I grew up would make you think anything strange could happen there. And for the first 8 years of my life nothing did. Then we got a new bed. Sounds ridiculous, I know. Just keep listening. My old bed was this low wooden frame that basically sat right on the floor. Almost no gap underneath at all. My parents replaced it with a higher bed, metal frame, probably about 1.5 feet of clearance underneath. I remember being excited about it because I could store stuff under there. Felt very grown up for some reason. First night sleeping in the new bed I woke up around 2 in the morning. No specific reason, just woke up. I lay there in the dark for a second feeling that groggy confused feeling you get when you don't know what pulled you out of sleep. And then I heard it. Breathing. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just slow, steady breathing coming from underneath my bed. I was 8 years old and I did what any 8-year-old would do. I pulled my blanket over my head and lay there completely still for what felt like forever. The breathing continued for a few minutes and then just stopped. Eventually I fell back asleep. In the morning I told myself it was a dream. But it happened again the next night. And the night after that. Every single night I would wake up around the same time and hear that slow breathing from below. I started sleeping with every light in my room on. I begged my parents to let me sleep in their room. I told my mom there was something under my bed and she did what parents do, got down, looked underneath, showed me there was nothing there, and told me it was just my imagination. After about 2 weeks I worked up the courage to look myself. I grabbed my little flashlight, hung over the edge of the bed, and shone it underneath. Nothing. Just carpet and the stuff I had stored under there. Shoeboxes, some old toys, a basketball. Nothing else. But here is the thing that I couldn't explain even at 8 years old. The stuff under my bed had moved. Not dramatically. Just slightly. The shoeboxes were in different positions than I remembered. The basketball had rolled to the opposite side. Small things. Things a parent would tell you that you just misremembered. I knew I hadn't misremembered. I stopped putting anything under the bed after that. Cleared everything out completely so I could see all the way to the back wall when I looked underneath. And every morning when I woke up I would check. For weeks nothing changed. Just empty carpet. I started sleeping a little better. Started thinking maybe my mom was right, and it really was just my imagination. Then one morning I looked under the bed and there was a handprint in the carpet. Just one. Pressed into the fibers like something had pushed down hard. Way too big to be mine. Way too big to be any kid's. It was at the very back, against the wall, like whatever made it had been pressed into the corner as far back as it could go. I didn't tell my parents this time. I don't know why. I just didn't. I'm around 10 or 11 at this point, and I had basically just accepted that something shared my room with me at night. I know how messed up that sounds. But when you're a kid and the adults in your life keep telling you nothing is there, eventually you just start adapting. I developed this whole routine. Lights on until I fell asleep. Never let my arms or legs hang off the edge of the bed. Never looked underneath after dark. Ever. Those were my rules and I followed them every single night for years. The breathing continued on and off throughout. Some weeks I wouldn't hear it at all and I'd start to relax. Then it would come back. Always the same. Slow and steady, almost peaceful sounding if it wasn't coming from underneath my bed in the middle of the night. When I was 13 something happened that I have genuinely never told another person until right now. I woke up one night, and the breathing was different. Faster. Closer somehow. Like whatever was under there had moved toward the edge. I lay completely still with my eyes shut doing my usual thing of just waiting it out. And then I felt it. Fingers. Wrapping slowly around my ankle from below. I didn't scream. I couldn't. I was completely frozen, heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my ears. The fingers just held my ankle for a moment. Not squeezing, not pulling. Just holding. Like it wanted me to know it was there. Like it had always wanted me to know, and this was the first time it was saying it directly. Then it let go. I did not sleep for the rest of that night. I sat upright with my back against the headboard and every light blazing until the sun came up. In the morning I walked straight to my parents' room and told them I was never sleeping in that room again. I didn't tell them why. I just refused. My parents thought I was being dramatic and going through some weird teenage phase. They let me sleep on the couch for a few nights before eventually setting up a temporary bed in the spare room. I never went back into that bedroom. Not once. I told my parents I just liked the spare room better, and eventually they stopped questioning it. My old bedroom just became a storage room. Door stayed shut. That was fine by me. Things were okay for a few years after that. I finished school, moved out at 18, went to college, got an apartment with 2 roommates. Normal life. I honestly started to convince myself that whatever happened when I was a kid was some kind of prolonged stress response or sleep disorder. There are explanations for that kind of thing. I looked them up. Sleep paralysis, hypnagogic hallucinations, overactive imagination in childhood. I picked the explanation that let me sleep at night, and I stuck with it. Then I was 26, and I moved into my own place for the first time. Nice apartment, 3rd floor, felt safe. I was proud of it. I bought myself a proper bed frame, decent mattress, the works. High frame though, decent clearance underneath. I didn't even think about that at the time. Didn't even register. First week was completely fine. I slept better than I had in years honestly. Felt like a fresh start. Second week, Tuesday night, I woke up at 2 in the morning. And heard breathing from underneath my bed. I cannot describe to you what that felt like. 26 years old, lying in my own apartment in a city 300 miles from where I grew up, and that sound. That exact same slow, steady breathing. Like no time had passed at all. Like it had just been waiting. I moved my mattress onto the floor that same night. Dragged the bed frame out to the hallway and left it there. Slept on the mattress on the floor for the next 3 months. No breathing. Nothing unusual. I told myself whatever it was needed the space underneath. Take away the space, take away the problem. Eventually I got a low platform bed. No clearance underneath at all. Problem solved, right? And it was. For about 2 years everything was completely normal. I stopped thinking about it. Started dating someone, life was good, I felt genuinely okay for the first time in a long time. Then my girlfriend moved in, and she brought her bed with her. Tall frame. Lots of clearance underneath. I should have said something. I know that now. I should have just told her I preferred a low bed and left it at that. But how do you explain something like this to someone you're trying to impress? So I said nothing. 3 weeks after we set up her bed in our room, I woke up at 2 in the morning and heard her say my name. I rolled over thinking she was awake. She was completely asleep. I lay there in the dark and heard my name again. Whispered. From underneath the bed. In a voice that sounded just close enough to hers to make my blood go cold. I grabbed her and shook her awake. She was confused and a little annoyed, honestly. I told her we needed to sleep in the living room. She thought I was sleepwalking or having a nightmare. I just kept saying we needed to get out of that room right now, and something in my voice must have told her I was serious because she got up without arguing. I told her everything that night. Sitting on the living room floor at 3 in the morning, I told her the whole thing from the time I was 8 years old. She listened to all of it without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. Then she told me that twice in the past week she had woken up in the middle of the night feeling like someone was watching her. She hadn't mentioned it because she didn't want to seem silly. We got rid of the bed frame the next day. Back to a low platform bed. The feeling in the room changed almost immediately. Hard to explain, but it just felt lighter somehow. That was 2 years ago. Things have been quiet since then. No breathing, no whispers, nothing. We have a strict no high bed frames rule in our house now, and yes, she thinks it's a little weird, but she also heard what I heard that night, so she doesn't argue about it. I still check the clearance under the bed every night before I sleep. Old habit, I guess. And on the nights when I wake up at 2 in the morning for no reason, I just lie there completely still, eyes open, staring at the ceiling, waiting to hear if anything breathes back.